Thank you so much for being with us today on this beautiful West Coast day. Somebody told me that Prince George received 55 centimeters of snow. So we're very happy about this. So welcome all the Prince George folks. Yes. So this is the first ever of its kind where we are combining settlement and language. And we are very excited about the next couple of days. We hope that some of the tools you'll find useful, the workshops are going to be interesting, so you'll have a lot that you're taking away with you. I just want to give an overview of the agenda. So we'll do some welcome remarks. Tiana is here from IRCC, Joni is here from the province, so we'll hear from them in a bit. We'll then have a quick coffee break to give you a chance to move into your breakout rooms for the regional sessions. We'll have some lunch, and then in the afternoon there will be an opportunity for professional development on vicarious trauma. We will then meet back here, well, we'll be here anyways, and we'll have a bit of a wrap-up, and then we'll end for the day, and we'll do it all over again tomorrow morning. So just to give you an idea of numbers, this is who we have in the room today. From North Interior, we have about 27 people. Vancouver Island, 12, Fraser Valley, 30, Metro Vancouver, 61. So a lot of people here today. Thank you all for coming, treading in the snow, and trying to make your way here. So thank you very much for that. We hope that it's going to be a really good event. So as you all know, AMSA is an agency that works to support organizations across BC who serve newcomers and build culturally inclusive communities. Given this commitment to inclusion, we want to recognize our history and current context and acknowledge that we are gathered on the ancestral, traditional, and unceded Indigenous territories of the Squamish, Musqueam, and Tsleil-Waututh First Nations. So again, I would like to welcome representatives from Immigration, Refugees, and Citizenship Canada, Tiana Solaris and Rosalind Chan-Cito, who is somewhere back there, as well as the Province of British Columbia representatives. Chloe Nichols could not be with us today, but Joni Rose is here, and Dominic Fung and Vicky Chu will be joining us probably a bit later. I would also like to take this opportunity to thank IRCC for funding this event. So we are well into the third quarter of this year's activities, and it has been a busy time for everyone. I hear that from everybody. Oh, it's been crazy, it's been busy, it's been chaotic. So we're all going through that. We have a new provincial government, and service provider organizations have been meeting with various elected officials to ensure that the needs of the settlement and language sector are being heard. The Canadian Immigrant Settlement Sector Alliance, or CISA-ACSE, which provides a national forum for discussion and collaboration, has submitted position papers to various government offices on topics such as immigration levels, the future direction of the Resettlement Assistance Program, and recommendations for a revised contribution agreement framework. As well, the Immigrant Integration Coordinating Committee has been busy with their own position papers on refugee claimants, national conversation on immigration, and recommendations on wait lists, which was written in collaboration with the Settlement Language Working Group. As well, they sent in a paper introducing the settlement sector in BC with a backgrounder and key opportunities for the provincial government. We have received feedback from some provincial ministers and some federal that these have been well received. So we will send you more information as it comes. AMSA convened a meeting between the Immigrant Integration Coordinating Committee's Steering Committee and Minister Hassan, Minister of Immigration, Refugees and Citizenship, as well as a joint sector effort to provide recommendations for the re-establishment of the BC Human Rights Commission with Parliamentary Secretary Ravi Kahlon. And both those meetings went quite well. The National Settlement Council, a joint policy and program table of IRCC and sector umbrella organizations from across the country, met in Vancouver for the very first time back in June, and the next meeting will be held in Ottawa in December. We will be collaborating on a conference call to get some feedback from all of you on the agenda items. So that will probably be planned for the end of November, and you will receive communication from AMSA for that. So I also wanted to give you a quick update on some of the activities that AMSA has been involved with. Earlier this month, AMSA helped to organize the Community University Refugee and Migration Symposium at UBC, featuring 7 events over 6 days. A webinar on supporting the alignment of pre- and post-arrival services for newcomers will be offered in late November or early December. This webinar will provide settlement staff and link instructors with greater knowledge of existing pre-arrival services and currently being offered to newcomers destined for BC. So we'll send you information on that once the date is finalized. As well, an e-symposium on the topic of housing will take place in January 2018. This activity will focus on the barriers newcomers face in finding acceptable and affordable housing when integrating into communities and trying to find innovative solutions. Our upcoming info sheet on newcomers as volunteers and information from the 2016 census data on immigration and ethnocultural and linguistic diversity in BC will be released in late 2017. So watch out for those. Also, AMSA is starting a research and resource development project looking at the settlement support needs of international students in BC and how settlement agencies and post-secondary institutions can best provide support. If you receive funding from BC CIS, you can expect to hear from AMSA shortly for your participation on this project. As well, most of you may know, AMSA celebrated our 40th anniversary this year. We're very proud of that. We welcome 4 new members and are proud to serve the needs of over 70 members in BC now. Also wanted to let you know that over the next 2 days, we will be posting flip chart paper around the room to collect your thoughts, reflections, ideas, and suggestions. I encourage you to write down some highlights, insights, aha moments that you may glean from the breakout sessions or professional development or the plenaries, and sticky notes and markers will be available for you. So the general flip charts are basically going to be on that side of the room. So feel free to browse through them during your breaks or at lunch. Okay, so on behalf of the AMSA team, thank you for taking the time out of your very busy schedules to be here. We hope that it will be a memorable experience for you. And now, please help me welcome Tiana Solares, Manager, Integration Settlement Network from Immigration, Refugees, and Citizenship Canada, to say a few words. Thank you.
Thank you, Farah. Hi, and thank you for having me here today. Bonjour, et merci de m'avoir invité aujourd'hui. For me, I'm really excited to be here, and I hope you guys can focus on me despite this lovely view behind me. You can just listen. You can look out the window if you like. For me, this is a really exciting time to be doing the work that we do, and working in settlement and in integration. There is an unprecedented focus on settling newcomers and settling them well, ensuring that they're very well set up for success as best they can. We, of course, see a reflection of this in our minister's mandate letter, where it's not just to continue settling refugees from Syria and other countries, but for increased immigration levels and perhaps most directly for us at this moment, a renewed focus on the delivery of high-quality settlement services. With this new overarching focus has come a real focus on ensuring we achieve the best possible outcomes for our clients. You're going to hear the word outcomes a lot in the future. For IRCC, this is manifesting in several ways, including an increased tolerance for taking intelligent risks, for trying to innovate and try new things, even if it means failing sometimes. And it's also changing the way we work as an integration network together and how we engage with you. So some of the changes that have taken place recently, bear with me, I'll just recap the first one. It took place last year when we went from a regional reporting structure to a centralized reporting structure. So the creation of the settlement network, we went from 4 director generals, 4 big bosses, to 1, Stephanie Kirkland. It's a very busy office, which has helped us to get started on moving towards real kind of national consistency in how we approach different issues and how we operate. So that work, I think, will always be ongoing, but I think we've made a really nice start, and we continue to work on that. The more recent change to update you on, again, a lot of you are aware, they have now, the Deputy Minister has created a whole new settlement sector. So this means that the settlement policy folks who abide in Ottawa and the settlement network, so across the regions in Ottawa as well, so operations and policy, were now combined under one sector and under one newly created Assistant Deputy Minister, David Manicom. So the sector serves as a, forgive the bureaucraties here, single point of accountability for the strategic vision and oversight of IRCC's settlement and integration policy, programs, and operations. So it will allow us to have a more focused and integrated approach to ensure that renewed focus on the high quality delivery of, or the delivery of high quality settlement services. It's really early days. It's only been just shy of 2 months. We have a transition team in place as we work through the various kind of change management issues with this. I can tell you that it doesn't really impact the day-to-day operations though, so your day-to-day operations with your settlement officers is not really going to change at this point. I'll tell you a bit about our new ADM, David Manicom. He's relatively new to the integration world, but he has a wealth of experience with IRCC. He's a lifer. Both overseas and domestically, both in policy and in operations. And a little interesting note, he's also a published poet and novelist. So he thinks a little differently than the ADMs that I have come across before. And he has already taken concrete steps to reach out to management, like in the regions and in Ottawa, as well as the sector. So I think we're off to a really good start. He's really focused on learning about what you do and hearing from you, hearing from us, and he's got a neat viewpoint. So there will be more to come on this as changes continue to roll out from there. To move on to more local happenings, I really want to take this opportunity to thank you and your teams for all the work that you've been doing as you move through with your settlement officers. In a lot of cases, multiple amendments in the past 6 months. For BC this year, our base funding envelope started off at just under 87 million. We had just over 10 million in Syrian funding and an additional 4.7 for additional base funding, basically for the increased levels. And those last two envelopes, or parts of them, came out in the first quarter of this year, which is where all the amendments started happening. So to tell you kind of the priority areas where we put that, big priority was the language wait lists. I love talking about language wait lists. We did our best to really target to bring those wait lists down to more of a manageable working inventory. We, of course, put more money into vulnerable populations, youth, refugees, women, parenting programs, and we're able to get money out the door for professional development as well. We've been in a declining base situation, as you guys all well know, since 2014, so it was, while it was a lot of work, it's also very satisfying for us to be able to actually come to the sector with money. It was good. So I should take this opportunity to shout out my team in the back corner. They're hiding. They're going to be, these are integration officers that are here today, and they're going to be in and out of various sessions. Doit, I see you. They're going to be in and out of various sessions today. I encourage you to please speak freely when they are there. Be kind. Be polite, but speak freely, because we really do want to hear what you have to say, what your challenges are, what's good, what's bad. Something that's been out there for a little while that I'm sure also you want to hear about. We have a new funding stream this year that's new called Service Delivery Improvement Funding. So this is a national fund. It doesn't live in the province. SDI, I will refer to it as SDI, Service Delivery Improvement. So this funding is intended to help us all kind of explore new or innovative ways to deliver our programs. So it's going to allow us to try things, evaluate things, to succeed at those things, maybe fail at those things. That's okay. I mean, don't try to fail, but you know, we want to see what works. So it's less going to be a focus with this funding on, you know, reporting and I care about the numbers, and more on what are the outcomes for the client with this. There's more information to come out about this very soon, and I can't really scoop that and give you guys undue advantage. But I can tell you something's going to go up on the CIC website within the next week that I think will outline the priorities that they're looking to hit up with this funding. And instead of going through a call for proposals process, which can be long and a little bit painful, lots of detail, it's going to be an expression of interest process. So it'll be a little bit more streamlined and easier to kind of submit your idea before going further into a full application process. So that's due to come out mid-November. I think that's fairly firm, the mid-November, but check back on our website. I don't believe it was up this morning, but the priorities should come fairly soon. So keep an eye out for that. It's open to all of our current service providers or new players that are from without the sector, really kind of broadening the net and to see what's out there. So while I can't talk a whole lot more about that, what I can talk about is some of the more innovative things that the department has been doing. So specifically the Settlement Design Challenge. Have you guys heard about that? A little bit? Some of you participated, I think. If I were you, I'd say, what is that? Because that's exactly what I said when that came out. And what a great question. The Settlement Design Challenge was a project, it's conceived and it was run out of IRCC's Client Experience branch. We actually have one that really is trying to focus on improving client service across all our programs. And the goal was to uncover new insights to help guide the department towards creating and implementing more novel ways to improve Canada's settlement programs. So to give you an idea, both the citizenship process and the call center went through a similar approach in the last year, and I'll give you an example in a minute. So the Design Challenge team was made up of carefully chosen, multidisciplinary cohort of IRCC staff from across the country, from officers all the way up to directors. From Vancouver, our own very extraordinarily talented Robin Howell-Jones and Maria Jordbacka participated, and it occurs to me that Robin wrote these notes. So there we go. So they were able to provide a valuable operational perspective. So over the course of 4 weeks and through various human-centered design methodologies, the team examined the settlement process from the permanent resident kind of application phase all the way through to citizenship in order to better understand a newcomer's experience in coming to Canada. So human-centered design means looking at something from the perspective of the actual human involved in that process, which, well, for us, that's very novel. You know, we usually focus on the process and, you know, here's our box. But that's not how this worked. It was really interesting. It was a creative process, and it gathered those who play a part in providing services and shaping the user experience to collectively research, analyze, and brainstorm ideas to improve service delivery for clients. So the outputs and outcomes from the design were subject to the same kind of evaluation kind of methods that policy development improvement go through to validate the effectiveness, the effects, cost, feasibility, stakeholder acceptability. They actually did a bit of a dragon's den with the senior directors to kind of propose their ideas. I'll get to that in a second. But by placing the user and the newcomer at the center of the evaluation, the design and creation process, it ensured that new ideas are driven by the value that's provided to clients. So to give a concrete example, when this approach was applied to looking at improving call center outcomes, specifically to spousal sponsorship applications, they discovered a thing they call a phone hug. I think that's fun. So the call center used to operate, so in order to ensure they were addressing those most in need, they would only check up on files that had passed a certain point in the application process, so which left a lot of calls unanswered. So that spurred a lot of clients to call back. They found out that, maybe this is rocket science, I don't know, but they found out that if they actually answered all of those calls, the call center they answered all the status update calls. They saw a drop in to overall volume of 30%, right? So it made it a lot more efficiently. It was just looking at it from the client's point of view. So to come back to the settlement piece, given the large, diverse community of newcomers and the multi-year span of settlement, the Design Challenge concentrated on those most in need, so they really focused on specifically those who were more prone to becoming stuck and isolated and in economic uncertainty. So the team met with newcomers facing poverty, mental health issues, seniors, those living with a disability, LGBTQ communities. And it was this is not going to be a surprise to you guys, but we're a little bit removed from the client. It was a really meaningful process. Tears, I'm telling you, it was really intense. And what really resonated with me about what they found was that newcomers were saying that their sense of well-being, while language and employment is important, and no one's going to deny that, it was really that sense of connectivity to a community and the ability to give back. That's really, it was great for us to actually see that You guys have been saying it for years. But it was really great for us to see that. So they looked too, not just because, we have our terms and conditions and we have who's eligible and who isn't. They didn't focus on that. That was not important in this design challenge. So they looked at everything from ways to improve housing, to get people into housing when they don't have credit, to undocumented youth, and how to help them not fall victim to human trafficking. They looked at this huge range of issues. So the next phase, so the ideas that sprung from that, and I can't really talk about those yet, but there were some really neat ideas that came out of it, both from IRCC, and they had a team from the Ontario College of Art and Design, who know nothing about our terms and conditions. So it was great to really kind of see them come at it from the outside. Those have been presented to the Deputy Minister with a view towards trying some of these out. So more news to come on that. I don't have a due date, but it has been presented to the Deputy, so hopefully we'll hear something on that soon. So, I'll shut it. Looking forward, as you work through your agenda today, kind of bear in mind that new tolerance for risk, the new tolerance for trying things. It's really important. I would ask you to ask yourselves as you're going through these exercises, what are those crucial elements in the settlement and language kind of processes that need to be kept, that need to be preserved? What program kind of problems most need fixing? What needs the tweaks? And what opportunities are there for seizing, especially realizing that we are now looking kind of beyond our little box? Please ask yourself those questions. I just want to reiterate, my staff is here. They really want to hear what you have to say. Be nice, but be frank. And enjoy your next 2 days. Thank you for having us. Merci.
Thank you very much, Tiana. If you have any questions, we will be opening up after Joni's presentation, so feel free to start thinking about those. So now I would like to welcome, and apologies we didn't get a chance to change this, but I'd like to welcome Joni Rose, who is the Senior Program Advisor from Immigration Policy and Integration Branch, Ministry of Jobs, Trade and Technology. Please help me welcome for her remarks.
Thank you so much. So first I wanted to just start off by saying that Chloe was very disappointed that she would not be able to be here today. Unfortunately, she was pulled away to meet with the minister and support the minister through estimates today. So, she really wanted to be here and really wanted me to make sure that I said very loud and clear that she is very interested in engaging with the sector, and certainly it would be open to other invitations to speak. So I wanted to start off with that. So what we thought we would go over today is just a little bit about the recent changes to the sort of key ministry structure in the province, and also talk about our new ministry, the Ministry of Jobs, Trade and Technology, and also an update on the Immigrant Integration Branch programs, and of course be open to the question and answer period. So the new structure, it's a bit confusing, I know, for some people. I've had some emails myself around this. So there are four main ministries that you should be aware of. So of course the ministry that we are in is the Ministry of Jobs, Trade and Technology, JTT. But also some of our colleagues have moved into other branches. So the Ministry of Advanced Education and Skills Training, you'll see, has the public post-secondary institutions. The Canada Job Fund is under that ministry. Employment Services and Supports, Labour Market Information, and both websites, the workbc.ca and welcomebc.ca. So that has moved now to a different ministry. We were under the same ministry prior. Multiculturalism and anti-racism has moved into the Ministry of Tourism, Arts and Culture. And the Ministry of Social Development and Poverty Reduction is the new name for the ministry that houses the employment program of BC, which is Work BC. So you can appreciate that it is really important to our branch to make sure that we have a lot of integration with these other ministries. So we're working very closely with these other ministries on lots of different initiatives just to make sure that we stay connected. So our ministry portfolio includes economic development, technology and innovation, the small business, and regulatory reform, international strategy and competitiveness, and international business development. And of course, our branch is the Workforce, Immigration, and Major Investments Division, our division. And so you can see through looking at that portfolio that our ministry is really quite involved in economic development. That is definitely the sort of focus of this ministry. So when we look at the ministry structure and leadership, the minister is the Honorable Bruce Ralston, and Deputy Minister Fazil Mehar. Rob Mingay is our Assistant Deputy Minister. Some of you may have met him. He was our Assistant DM before. Chloe Nichols is the Executive Director, and Deb Zaire is now back as the Executive Director of the PNP branch. So some of you may know Deb from our prior, she was the ED of our branch here prior to the funds moving back to the feds. And then just to sort of understand how the structure works, so Lucy Swibb is the director, so I report to Lucy, as well as Vicky. So Vicky and I are the senior program advisors, and Dominic Fung and Karina Lau are also part of our unit. The other two directors that are under Chloe are Carling. Carling does the immigration policy work, and then Eben Watts doing FQR and FPT sort of work, and both Carling and Eben are out of Victoria. The ministry mandate. So this is an important piece, I think, to talk about today, is that the ministry mandate letter had one piece that was very relevant to the people in this room today. And that is that the work with the Minister of Advanced Education, Skills and Training to improve credential assessments and create a center to coordinate and educate newcomers in their fields. So this is the mandate that we are working on. The staff is in a very early stages of examining sort of the options that we can look at towards this mandate commitment. We're also working very closely with AVED, or Advanced Ed, to make sure that, advanced education, to make sure that we're looking at a much more broad definition of what credential assessment would look like, and really look at the full re-credentialing journey that clients may go through. To give you a little bit of an update on the immigrant integration programs, so the first one is Career Paths for Skilled Immigrants. We launched that program in January of 2019. The uptake for the program seems to be on target to meet what we would want to see for the annual targets. We're currently at 534, and actually I think it's now closer to 550 clients receiving services. We've got minimal wait lists. The only wait list I'm aware of is the one in North Shore Multi, with only one client on our wait list. So we definitely have capacity to take more clients into the program. So far, 78 clients have received Canadian experience through the program. So this is one of the new features of the program, is that we're really emphasizing helping clients to get Canadian experience if they do not have Canadian experience before coming into the program. And 82 clients are gaining occupation-specific language training. So again, another key component of the new program is that we offer occupation-specific language training. I've also given you some statistics here of how the different occupations sort of the occupational breakdown with the program. We are targeting to reach about 1,035 clients as our target for the fiscal year. So we're, as I say, we're on track to do that. And then I'll also look at, or show you the career paths for clients, or sorry, the career path breakdown by immigration category. I think this is quite interesting as well. And one of the neat features of the new program is we have this fantastic database that's allowing us to sort of see data on a real time and also the service providers to see data real time, which is really, really unique. It's interesting to sort of see who we're serving under the program, especially that we are definitely serving the family class, which I think we've always known, but we've never really had the numbers to sort of prove that. We also had a webinar with AMSA recently, and now I know that webinar has been posted on the website, and I'd really encourage you, if you're not familiar with the program, to look at that webinar and review it, because it gives you information about the Career Paths program. The webinar was very well attended. We had 236 participants, and 79% of those participants had limited or no knowledge of the program prior to coming to the webinar. So it really was an awareness building campaign, if you will, and we certainly would love to help more people understand that Career Paths is back, or Career Path is on, and we are serving clients, skilled clients. And then I'll talk a little bit about the BC SIS program, or BC Settlement and Integration. I know a lot of you are the service providers for this program. Currently, there is a notice to vendors posted on BC Bid, because we are, and a procurement process posted on BC Bid. The procurement is open to start new services as of July. The NTV, or the notice to vendors, is regarding the extension to contracts to extend them to June 30th. So the process will be that they will be reviewing the sort of service usage and projected demand to determine whether or not we do the extensions or not. So that process will be happening over the next couple of months. And the other thing that is being worked on with the BC SIS program is a webinar on immigration programs and the refugee claim process. That is in partnership with AMSA. So that's to happen in February of 2018. We also are working with AMSA to do a research and resource development project to coordinate supports for international students. So that's another thing that is in the works with AMSA, and I think going to really support. The idea here is to do some professional development for those providers that do the BC SIS program. And then other priorities for the ministry right now is renegotiating the FQR agreement with ESDC. So the FQR agreement expires in March of 2018, and so we are in talks right now to make sure we renegotiate that agreement. Refugee claimants, we're really monitoring and assessing the impact of the increased numbers. I know that's on a lot of your minds. So we definitely are looking at that on a cross-ministry basis. We are partnering with other ministries, engaging with the federal government around this as well, to make sure that we are looking at some contingency planning. The other thing we definitely are doing are engaging with the federal, provincial, and territorial working groups. We're very much a part of those working groups on settlement and immigration, and also on the language front as well. There, in recent FPT minister meetings, there seems to be very much an elevated interest in ensuring settlement services have positive outcomes, as Tiana alluded to as well. So we're very actively involved at the FPT level on a range of interest, mutual interest items. So I think that's it for the presentation, and just open now to questions and answers. Thank you.
So thank you very much, Tiana and Joni. We have mic stands on both sides of the room, and we do have some time for Q&A. If you have any questions, please come forward, and Tiana and Joni will be happy to answer them for you. Who's going to be the brave first soul? Anyone?
Our presentations were so comprehensive.
Yes, they have no questions. Everything was answered. Yes, Betty. FQR.
Hi, FQR, Foreign Qualifications and Recognition.
Thank you. I think people are feeling a bit shy to go up to the mics. Manpreet, did you have another question? Okay, Melissa's going to come up with a roving mic.
So for, I'm losing my train of thought, I'm getting older, but it was for Tiana. Yeah, no, so for the expression of interest which is coming out, so did I hear you correctly saying it's more around quality assurance, like outcomes-based pieces? Like, can you just clarify that?
I can a bit. Good question, Manpreet. The focus of the service delivery improvement funding is really on projects or research evaluation. It could be direct services that are a little bit different, but the focus will be on a big focus on the evaluation of that, whether it leads to better outcomes. So in a sense, yes, quality, but in a way that we haven't done it before. I'm sure you're all familiar with iCare and putting in all the numbers. That's not part of this, for example. So they'll be looking at things like the outcomes, and then possibly the scalability of whatever's put out there. This is national funding too. I just want to reiterate that. So we don't have a specific allotment just for BC. Everybody's applications will be going national, basically. Did that kind of answer it?
I guess
There'll be a lot more info. I just have to be a little bit careful because it's going to launch very soon, and I can't say a whole lot beyond that in order not to, put you guys ahead of the pack. Yeah, it'd be awkward. They'd know.
Thank you. Do we have another question? Great. Thank you.
Hi there. In 2016, there were a lot of gaps shown in Lower Mainland and Southern Vancouver Island regarding housing. Have the province and the federal government been talking at all about looking at housing? Because up until this point, a lot of the funds that have gone to create housing development has gone towards entrenched homeless populations, and there hasn't been a lot of attention given to specific vulnerable populations like newcomers.
This is a harder one for me to talk about because housing is provincial and municipal in jurisdiction. What I can tell you is one of the ideas that came out of that settlement design challenge, without going into too much detail, spoke to housing and the challenges that newcomers have in getting housing, and proposed several ideas for how we could help address that in partnership with the province. So we're keeping it as top of mind as we can. Even though it isn't quite our jurisdiction, we're trying to work with FPTs to work on that.
And I'm afraid I'm not going to be able to speak too much on this, but I will bring this back and make sure that we get a more formal response for you on this issue. But I do know that there has been meetings that have happened between the policy people with the housing departments as well. So I know that there is some talks going on, but I would rather defer this and give you a much more fulsome answer. So I'll make sure that I do take this back, and we'll get it back to Farah. Okay?
Thank
Hi.
you.
Hi,
Sherman.
I'm Sherman from Mosaic. I just want to ask a question. I understand that now with the federal government, with IRCC, it's more centralized with one settlement sector, and I think it's a good thing. And also knowing that with the new government in BC, we have 4 ministries to look after or looking at the policy or implementation issue for immigrants and refugees. I wonder how the intersection will play out. On one hand, we look at a national level. On the other hand, the BC government have their own way of doing it. And of course, sector like us are doing work every day. The sector's been talking a lot about the BC immigration strategy. Are there any appetite that we can really get it going either on the political level or on the government implementation levels, really looking at how we are going to work with immigrants and refugees together as a province?
Thank you, Sherman.
You stumped us, Sherman. Can you give us maybe a direct question, though? Like, I'm not really sure exactly what you're asking us to respond to.
Well, basically, is that I would say, from my perspective or many colleagues' perspective, there seems to be not clear of a vision and what and how BC is going to take into the capability and the whole immigration talent of newcomers coming to BC, and how we can maximize it and make BC a better life for many immigrants and refugees.
Okay. So I think what you're asking me is there something formal written down, right, around a strategy for immigration for BC? Is that a good summary? I think that the best thing you can look at right now is that mandate letter and what we have been tasked to do, and that is looking at credential assessments and if there are any barriers to entry there and what we can do to prevent those barriers to entry. I think that's a #1 priority right now. And the other thing is the Center for Newcomers that has been sort of talked about in as one of the platform issues. So I think really that's the key issue and the key pieces that we're looking at right now and are definitely welcoming input. I would expect that we will be doing consultations around that piece, those pieces too, in the near future. Nothing's been set yet. We're still waiting for direction. But those are the two pieces that are really key and sort of front and center right now. As far as a more formal, broad strategy around immigration, I don't think that is something that is on the agenda at the moment.
Thank you, Joni. Question? Yes.
Hi, it's
Hi,
Devinder
Devinder.
from PICS. My question is about language waitlists. So I know with increased need for, due to language barrier and waitlist that we see around us, I just wanted to know if there is any possibility of new contracts or extended services.
Thanks for the question, Devinder. I can tell you that with both the Levels funding and the Syrian funding that we got in, I think we started getting out the door around June, correct me if I'm wrong, we spent our focusing on language waitlists. Our initial sweep was waitlists over 50 per level per service provider, and then we were able to tighten it even more, down to, I believe it was 20. Don't quote me on that. And I'm anticipating we're going to see the results of those amendments with the kind of October numbers, because a lot of those amendments are really just kind of finishing. Most of them finished around September for class starts. At this point, we don't have a formal mechanism to receive kind of new proposals outside of a CFP process. So there's no real timeline in terms of how we would get back to you if you're applying to start a new contribution agreement. It's not off the table or anything. That's one of the things that we're working on, is kind of a more formal process to deal with applications that come in outside of the CFP cycle. But our first priority with our provincial funding that we get per province is with the service providers that we have now. But no, it's never off the table.
And just on that note too, I will again remind you that Career Paths does have a language component, and to please refer clients, if they fit the NOC codes that are being served under the occupation-specific language training. I'd really encourage you to look at that, make sure you understand that, so that you can make some referrals to that program as well.
Thank you. We have a question here.
Pardon me, Louise from Burnaby. Jana, with the amendments that came out, one of the frustrations that I think I share with others is that they increase your child minding capability, or they increase your classroom capability, but they won't extend it into year 2. And so you go to a great deal of work to set up additional child minding or additional classes, and then you find yourself in this uncomfortable position next March of going to students and saying, I know you just got off the wait list and you're in class, but I'm sorry, we don't have daycare anymore for you, so you will have to go back on the waiting list. Yes. When are they going to hopefully look at that in a different way?
Well, boy, do I have good news for you. No, that's a great question, and it's something that we struggle with from our end too, because we don't want to do that. To ramp up a program, whether it's language or anything else, to have to cut it off March 31st. The reality we work in right now is we get our allocations yearly, and we've been getting them kind of late in the game, as you guys well know. So we're forced into this position where we have to do funding kind of on a first-year basis, or kind of a yearly basis. I can tell you that David Manicom, our new ADM, is well aware of this, and he doesn't like it either, and is making some efforts to address that, either that we get our allocations earlier. There's always, one of the priorities for the minister has been to get multi-years level planning, and hopefully the funding will go on to that. I can't speak on behalf of the department on that, but I can tell you that we're aware and that David's aware, and he's so far proving to be a man of action. So I'm going to just say let's be optimistic, because we agree that's a tough position to be in. Yeah.
Thank you.
Thanks for the question. Vaso? And after this, we'll probably just take one more question and then we'll wrap up.
Good morning, Johnny. I think you're more interested on this question. We are receiving a large number of young refugees mainly, and immigrants, aged 18 to 30. They have interrupted educational background, and they have dreams of entering the higher educational levels here in Canada. Do we have any plans for bridging classes between the LINK program and college entry?
So, Vaso, just so I'm clear, so you're asking me whether we're looking at bridging the gap between language LINK, so level 8.
Yes.
And then into
College
academic
entry
levels.
Because many, these people, they don't get enough of the LINK training, language training, to enter college or university.
I guess
they need additional help.
Right. Well, I guess the big question, or the big answer that I would think of, is the free ASL that's been announced recently, right? That is absolutely a new initiative at the post-secondary institutions, the ability to welcome clients into the free ASL programs. So I think that is being seen as that bridge. Whether that's not meeting that bridge, I'd love to hear from you. If you feel that that's not enough and not specific enough to what you're looking for or what you're suggesting, I'd definitely like to hear from you. Okay.
Okay. Thanks, Vaso. And one last question.
Thank you both for the information. It was a pleasure to see you again, Tiana, and from the ministry as well. Being in the sector for the past 18 years, and specifically with the immigrant and refugee sector for the past 14 years, I've noticed enormous challenges with the childminding program, as mentioned before. So that is one of the biggest challenges that in the sector I think everybody is facing, and families particularly are very much affected. Their settlement process, whether they are in RAP or government-sponsored refugees or other refugees. So the LINK programs, we had a long waiting list of newly arrived immigrants and refugees to have access to childminding. The waiting was up to 7 months or beyond that. So I wonder if there will be, in us working freshly with the neighborhood houses, in the enormous flexible environment with youth programs, senior programs, family programs, enormous childminding capacity there. I wonder if there will be more focus on how to develop the capacities of neighborhood houses, where there are the real programs, on-the-ground programs, and not fancy buildings but real programs on the ground. Thank you.
I can tell you that the neighborhood house model is it's a really neat one, and it's kind of unique to BC, really. This is really where it got going. And we're absolutely supportive of neighborhood houses. In fact, during the amendments that we were doing over the course of the summer, we did increase both some of the LINK and childminding capacity in neighborhood houses. So absolutely, that is something that is open and on the table. What else to say? That's pretty much actually all I have to say about that. But yes, yes.
Great. Well, thank you everybody for all your questions, and thank you to Tiana and Joni. It is now time to give you a quick break so that you have the opportunity to move into your regional breakout rooms. One thing I forgot to mention is restrooms. So restrooms, ladies is outside to my right, back, and men's is to the left at the back outside. And was there something else, Javier? Yes, please refresh your coffees. Feel free to grab any pastries. And a reminder, Metrovan, Ballroom A, Fraser Valley, Ballroom B, and then Seymour and Grouse are upstairs. Thank you, everybody.